Hello, you guys. Um, Welcome back to my channel. I I'm just gonna jump right into it. I saw the what was it? I saw the thumbnail from the Lapeef Network, and so I decided to take a picture of it and use it as my thumbnail. And the reason being is because um, I basically wanted him. From I wanted him to see what I'm just. Oh my God, you guys, listen. The women on that thumbnail are not Negroes. I'm just gonna say they're not Negroes, and the reason I say this is because I was like, damn, something is wrong. Like something is really wrong because for me, being born in 1975 in New York, coming to California, being raised in California, knowing um, how Black women carry themselves, knowing how we have been colonized by white people here, which means we've taken on their language, we've taken on their education, we took on their behavior. Of course, you had a few ghetto women. If you lived in Los Angeles, if you lived in the projects, or if you had family that lived in the projects, which I did, we did not carry ourselves like the Black women of today. All this booty sticking out, all this, raunchy dressing and raunchy behavior. I was saying, no, something is wrong. Um, Black women, I'm from the hood. We did not treat our men the way that these Black women of today treat their men, right? So when you look back at Big Mama, how she got along just perfectly fine in the home, and the kids were basically reared properly and went to college and graduated high school. They were effective learners. Um, they went on to have good lives, right? So I said, what the fuck is wrong with these women of today? It was just, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how did the Black woman turn from a respectable young lady, keeping her legs closed, listening to her mom, having her dad in the home, doing what she's supposed to do, taking care of her man, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids, to these bullshit women that we have of today? Now we're described as the angry Black woman. We're mouthy, we're strong, we're hard to get along with, we're the Black man's enemy. And I'm thinking to myself, like, fuck no. The women of yesterday, we knew our slave history, we had empathy and sympathy for our men. We knew to keep our hands on our children. And I'm saying, like, what the fuck happened? Like, now you have a massive amount of men that had difficulty in school, grade school, learning, more behavior problems, more special education, more this, more that, and the next. And I'm saying, like, And so when I woke up this morning and saw that Lapeef Network thumbnail, which it said, uh, Anton says that. I hope I can pull it up again. I'm on two computers, you guys. Um, Let me go here. Let me go here. Sorry, you guys, but I mean, I'm fucking appalled. I'm appalled. I'm appalled because I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that, you know, how important it was back in the day for black people to get their education and go to college. I mean, basically this is what we fought for, right? This is what we fought for. This is what we were doing. This is what was most important to us. And then all of a sudden, education for black people became unimportant. So I was like, no, something is wrong. Like something is freaking wrong. So, it was Anton says black women are the biggest threat to the community. I said no, 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 no. These women on the thumbnail, these are not Negro women. Them women are African immigrants, or their parents were African immigrants. Let that sink in for a minute. Those women are descendants of African born immigrants. And I found this paper and I said, wow, it's some good shit in here. Let me share it. But before I do that, listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. It says that I asked the question of um, African people, how many African people migrated to the United States, and I gave a rough year. I said 2010, because if you look at the women on the thumbnail, they are not that old. They're not that young. So they may be in their 30s or something like that. So I took it back to 2010. Well, the number of African immigrants in the United States grew from 881,300 in the year 2000 to 1.6 million in 2010, right? Then I said, well, how many African immigrant people live in California? And it says African American Californians or Black Californians are residents of the United States of California, of the state of California, who are of African ancestry, according to 2019 United States Census Bureau estimates. Those identified solely as African American or Black constituted 5.8%, or 2,282,144, right? Now, when I scrolled down, it said today, Californians' Black community is geographically concentrated, with most Black Californians living in Los Angeles. Listen to this. They have taken away the African immigrant title of the African immigrants, and they have just put the title on them as being Black or African American. So, what we're having is we have had a takeover. from African born descendants, right? Their parents were born in Africa, came here to give their kids a better education. Um, we Negroes, our image has been taken over by the descendants of African immigrants who came here to the United States, right? So it says immigrants from Africa, once they arrived in the U.S., typically settled in heavily urban areas upon arrival. Areas such as Washington, D.C., New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Houston, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Boston, Columbus, and Minneapolis, right? I scrolled down a little bit more. Of course, Africans came here um, to get a better education um, and work and different things of that nature. It says Caribbean and African Black immigrants are more recent. 7,000 Nigerians, 5,000 Ethiopians, 1,000 Ghanaians, 9,900 Jamaicans, 1,900 Haitians, and 1,700 Trinidadians live in Los Angeles. They are concentrated in South Los Angeles, Compton, and Inglewood. Okay. So while we think that we're dealing with or I thought, I'm not going to say we because, um, like black people don't do their research, or I don't know, I can't even say that because we're not even fucking dealing with black people. Um, when we're having all these issues and things going on, we are attributing that to the slave born black person. And when I looked up this when I found this paper, it explained a lot. It explained a lot, you guys. I mean, I'm all for clowning around on YouTube and making bullshit videos and talking about motherfuckers and things like that. But if you want to really solve the issue or find out why things are the way they are, you will want to be doing the same kind of research I'm doing. Why the hell has the black community declined so much? We have declined. We have went from being highly educated, valuing education, valuing family, to dereliction, miseducation. I don't even know if when I saw this information, I can't even say that we have been miseducated. I Man, oh my God, this rabbit hole goes so fucking deep, you guys. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. We have been placing blame. We have been blaming all our educational problems on white people. Oh my God. Oh, shit. Because I'm even sitting here looking at my own children. And I'm saying, if the educational system is so bad, why the fuck were my children capable of learning? Even my oldest son, who had a little bit of issues in education growing up, but I know the origins of that. I can't even blame that on the school system. I take full accountability for that. But he has since, years and years and years ago, I put an intervention in place, and I brought him back to where he needed to be. So anyway, moving forward, let's go ahead and get into this. I'm just man, oh man, oh man. Okay, so I found this paper, African Immigrant Women Within the United States Educational System. So let me tell you how I found this. I found this because I said, if descendants of Africans are hiding amongst us, they would have changed their names, or their you know, when you meet people, you don't know, they don't tell you their first and last name. They basically just tell you their first name, or they tell you a nickname, right? I'm starting to see where all these fucking nicknames came from, so that you can't identify the person by their name on their birth certificate, right? So, even this person, her name is Bintu Diallo. Her nickname probably would have been something like BB, or, I don't know, BD, or some shit they would attribute, they would have assigned her as a nickname, so that she was able to hide herself among Negroes. But she was actually an African descendant, right? So she wrote this paper in April of 2015. And I mean, I don't want to go into the abstract, because it's I don't know, it's irrelevant to me. When I got down further into the paper, I think I was at page 26. Let me go to page 26, right? If you guys want to see this paper, go to the University of Colorado Boulder, and type in African, or just type in African immigrant women within the United States, and it'll bring this paper up for you. But let me go down here to page 26, where I read this. I don't know, you guys just have to try to follow me. I mean, I didn't even have time to really um, go through this paper. I mean, I didn't have time to put notes together and different things of that nature. I'm gonna just give it to you how it comes out of my mouth, it comes out of my mind, and then if you want to, you guys can, look at it for yourself in its entirety. So there was, I don't know what this is, to my fellow non-American blacks in America, you are black, baby, from her book. Dear non-American black, when you make the choice to come to America, you become black. Stop arguing. Stop saying I'm Jamaican or I'm Ghanaian. America doesn't care. So, what if you weren't black in your country? You're in America now. We all have our moments of initiation into the society of former Negroes. Look what they call us, former Negroes. Mine was in a class in undergrad when I was asked to give the black perspective. Only I had no idea what that was. So I just made something up and admitted. You say I'm not black only because you know that black is at the bottom of America's race ladder. We were at the bottom of America's race ladder. We pulled ourselves up, and then they let all these African immigrants in this motherfucker, and then they just dropped us back down, because we were progressing and prospering and doing the damn thing. Okay, and that's what happens when people migrate over here. They're African. They look like us, so they had to go where we were, right? Um, and you want none of that. So you are black, baby. You must show that you are offended when such words such as watermelon or tar baby are used in jokes. So they know how ridiculed we were. So instead of defending us, they had to pretend like they had to pretend that they were offended, when they heard such words as watermelon or tar baby, although they didn't know what the fuck it was, right? Even if you don't know what the hell is being talked about, and since you are non-American black, the chances are that you won't know. In describing black women you admire, always use the word strong because that is what Black women are supposed to be in America. If you are a woman, please do not speak your mind as you are used to doing in your country, because in America, strong minded Black women are scary. Mm, wow. Let's run that part back. In describing Black women you admire, always use the word strong, because that is what Black women are supposed to be in America. If you are a woman, please do not speak your mind as you are used to in your country. So, African women in their country are used to speaking their mind, which means they say what they want to say to whomever they want to say it to, and their behavior has been attributed to Negroes. Because we weren't, I mean, I just kind of really distinctively remember, like, we've always been respectful to Black men. We've always given them their props. We've always done all that. And I'm thinking, like, fuck, where did the disconnect come from? There is like a total freaking disconnect with Black men and Black women. And this is the reason why. Because you Black men of today, right? This is where Black women are my enemy. Because over in Africa, they are enemies to one another. The African men in Africa, they want to cut their clitoris off. They want to keep them in a house cooking and cleaning and doing chores. And what the fuck are we dealing with right now today? Because I'm saying, like, fuck, how did Black men go from, you got your respecting her degree, he has his degree, they both have degrees, they're both working together, bringing income into the house and different things. So how did we go to, oh, submissive, and a woman is supposed to be cooking and cleaning? Because that's these fucking African men who are pretending like they're Negro men who've brought that bullshit from Africa over here to the fucking United States. And this is the problem that we're having. These Africans are fighting against each other. These African men and these African women, they have brought their fight with each other here to the fucking United States, and they have drowned the Negro out. And that is where all this fucking bullshit is coming from. My God. OMG. I was wondering, like, no, Black people, we didn't act like that. We had Martin Luther King, we had Black men and Black women fighting for education, fighting to go to college, and as long as the house was clean and the kids was taken care of and went to school, the man wasn't tripping about these fucking identified male and female roles. They was like, shit, if she working, more money coming into the house, right? But now all of a sudden we have this total disconnect. Oh, a woman is supposed to be. That's you, African motherfuckers, here with that bullshit. Ah, god damn it. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. We got a bunch of motherfucking Decepticons, a whole lot of fucking Decepticons, amongst a small amount of Autobots. Mm. Wow. I knew something was wrong. What the fuck is wrong? What happened? You think you dealing with a Negro? You dealing with a descendant, a descendant of Africa of today? Wow, 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 wow. Them the mouthy bitches. Them mouthy bitches. That's them African women. Negro women, we're not mouthy. I'm just saying to myself, like, what the fuck? Like, oh wow. Oh wow. I mean, if you really look back, look at how the features of the Black man has changed. Look at how the hairline of the Black man, how of the Black man has changed. If you look at the men of the 1970s and 1980s, even the 1990s, the men of today look totally fucking different. Oh my God. So, anyway, moving along. Wow. African American women have to deal with a new identity, being a black woman in America. And they don't even know what the fuck being a black woman, a Negro woman in America is or is supposed to act like. We as Negro women, we have never really been the stick your booty out, the dancing on tabletops in restaurants. We kept all our freaky shit in the club, or in the house. We didn't carry ourselves like that out in public. That's these African women that are doing these bitches. Oh my God. They have successfully migrated to the United States and has destroyed the image of the black man and the black woman. And they got us Negroes fighting against each other because they have brought those submissive roles here to the United States. So it's these African men, and they know they know what the fuck they're doing. They know who they're dealing with. They know that these bitches that they having issues with is African women, and they know that they are African men. So it is them. They're fighting amongst each other right here in the United States. The men over in Africa, they don't give a shit about African women getting an education. They don't feel like African women are supposed to be getting an education. They want their women at home cooking and cleaning and taking care of kids, and they want the girl kids to do cooking and cleaning and take care of the siblings and this, that, and the third. This is what's happening. I'm like, what the entire fuck is going on here? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. You dick. Oh, wow. I guess I don't know. I might have to start describing myself as a Negro again. You know what I'm saying? Because, wow. Okay, so moving on. Um, African immigrant women have to deal with a new identity, being a black woman in America, and have to face the implications of having that classification placed on them. This forced classification is present as stated by many of my narrators in census forms that ask them what ethnicity or race they identify with. For a non American black, the choices are black, African American, non Hispanic, or other. When asked if she had ever been classified as an African American, Ama, a student from Ghana, explains yes, especially when you are filling forms out, right? I just want to be called African and not African American because it makes me feel more proud of my continent. I have been classified as Black American and African American by being called African American. Amma feels as though her identity is being taken away from her, which takes away any power of self definition, right? I guess Obama had some initiative. I don't give a shit about that. Um, Okay, so the definitions of blackness challenge the identities of African immigrant women. Further, as their definitions of blackness and girlhood or womanhood is also being challenged. They are challenged by expectations of women of color, specifically black women in the US, as well as by their own cultural backgrounds to not conform to the expectations or stereotypes of black women, right? The Negro woman was expected to go to college and get a fucking job. To show his disappointment of me in not doing the expected duties of a woman in my Gideon culture of cooking and cleaning, or my lack of respect for him when I talk back to him, my father would tell me that my attitude is that of an African American, and that if I did not stop to listen to him, I would end up being a hoe out in the streets. He equated my actions of not doing chores and not listening to him as something that African American children would do. And that's bullshit. Her father told her this to get her to um, not leave her cultural duties behind. So he basically fucking lied on the Negro woman. As an African immigrant woman, uh, as an African American immigrant woman, Ghanaian in the U.S., I, along with many other women who identify as African and a woman, have to negotiate our identities while in different spaces. We are challenging existing patriarchal hegemonies operating both in the United States and within African countries while facing institutional systems of racial oppression in the U.S., which reflects how we shape and are shaped by migration. Now, let me stop to say this. Africans did come here with the intentions of getting an education. Um, they value the African women, of course, value education. They came here. They do get educated. They're very smart. We got a lot of African women that are nurses, right? I've seen a few African nurse practitioners, so they are doing what they're supposed to do. This is not the ones that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones who failed at education. These are the ones that are making Negro people look bad. They have hid themselves amongst us. They have run amok in our black communities. And now that has been contributed to the Negro as a whole. So we have been integrated in with this African bad behavior because it's not coming from your Negroes. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Let me keep scrolling. I was, oh, wow. Mm, mm, mm. Whew. All right, so I'm scrolling because I wanted to get this paper. This is a good paper. Okay, I applaud this young lady for writing this paper because this really just gave me an insight as to what the fuck is going on. Okay, let's see. I did. I passed that up. Um, So, lessons in education, immigration, and intersectionality. Race is not the problem. We give value to different types of races. Social responses to new immigrant groups are a major determinant of the future of race relations, right? Let me keep scrolling. I don't think that wasn't. I read that. That wasn't really. So here's a little something that one of her interviewees said. Elementary, middle, and high school with her Black American friends, I felt like I had to drop my identity and pick up a new one. This is the same thing that I have felt when I was with my white friends. I couldn't be authentically me because I wasn't welcomed. I had to put on my blackness, put on black stereotypes with my black friends. I still have to do that sometimes in college, though not as much. So sometimes she would be told that she was acting white. When with her black friends and seen as showing traits of whiteness, good stereotypes, which to her black friends have been institutionally taught as being traits foreign to them. People would say that you don't act black like, For example, after one of my white friends in high school said that they didn't like black people, I said, "What?" They replied by saying that I wasn't black. I didn't act black, I acted white. I felt uncomfortable, but didn't know what to say back, right? Didn't even know how to defend herself against that. So, the identities of African immigrant students are sometimes negotiated for them dependent on the racial constructs in society. So their identities are negotiated for them. They aren't negotiating their own identities, right? Stacey Lee explains that immigration is socially and racially constructed and has been redefined over and over again in the United States to oppress white and non white communities. Educational philosopher Elwood Huberly believed that Americanization required breaking up immigrant groups or settlements, assimilating and amalgamating these people as part of an American race, and implanting their children in the Anglo Saxon conceptions of righteousness, law, and order. Public decency and popular government. Now, that didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? How'd that work out for them? It didn't. This was done with forced migration and enslavement of Africans, as there was a new race creating within America. African American or the black race, which caused many enslaved Africans to lose their culture and history, which has caused separation between African Americans and Africans. With this separation, racial and social construction working against black immigrants, particularly African immigrants, and their educational attainment are not highly looked upon. Although many first and second generation Africans are achieving at higher rates than their other foreign counterparts, they are not considered a model minority, which brings back in the racialization of blacks. Their association with blackness makes them unworthy of praise, which is different from Asian immigrant students who receive this stereotype. Hmong American students are identified as culturally different and therefore not American, or seen as Americanizing in a bad and dangerous way. Africans are not fully seen by whites as culturally different, but rather immediately blackened nonetheless because of definition of blackness, while simultaneously seen as foreign by other blacks, therefore not fully American. Um, Let me go down here. Man, we already know that they don't want us to learn our African history. Okay, so cultural straddlers, though, negotiate both the social. Well, let me not just start there because you guys know I'm not going to pick up on what's being said. So, cultural mainstreamers are those who reject their co-ethnic peers' culture codes about how to dress and speak, about musical taste, about racial composition of friendship networks, and they rarely speak about the political and social experiences of being Black or Latino. This aligns with Lee's definition of a linear path to assimilation. In contrast, non-compliant believers struggle with school policies and various social and cultural codes. They create and embrace behaviors that signify their collective racial, ethnic, and gender identities. These students want to learn more about their cultural backgrounds, want critical curricula related to their identities and experience in the U.S., and ultimately yearn to learn about and question any systems that they believe relate to their ethnic experiences in American society. Question: did you learn about African history anytime during your education in the U.S.? It said at the beginning that she was interviewing African women. So I took an anthropology class that discussed the content of Africa. There are not a lot of classes because it puts the West in a bad light, and a lot of our history has been destroyed, especially during colonization. It was a strategy to wipe out our societies and histories. I want to learn more about the continent and my identity and people. Nikki, if it was about colonization or anything depressing. I learned more about the history of the state I was in and about European history. When I tried to write about Eritrean history in one of these history classes, I was told that it was a wash. I wasn't going to get anything out of studying that history, that it is pointless, that it is pointless. I felt as though my history was pointless. So I took the time to talk to my family, friends, and other resources to learn for myself since I thought it was important. Cultural straddlers, though, negotiate both the social and academic demands of school. Balancing the expectations of teachers, parents, and peers, they tend to be bicultural and bilingual, if not multi skilled in these areas. These students are able to play a balancing act as well as code switch dependent on the context, friends, ethnic background, schools, teachers, parents, etc. They can change their language and behavior to fit their environment. Wow. Carter also says many accommodating believers, cultural straddlers, are college bound and headed toward the middle class. Lee's definition of selective acculturation, segmented assimilation, aligns with that of Carter's definition of cultural straddlers. Selective acculturation is when a student learns and accepts their culture while learning the culture of America. These students are described as being more successful than students who choose other routes of assimilation or identity development, right? So, children who learn the language and culture of their new country without losing those of the old have a much better understanding of their place in the world. They need not clash with their parents as often or feel embarrassed by them because they are able to bridge the gap across generations and value their elders. Their elders' traditions and goals. Selective acculturation forges an intergenerational alliance for successful adaptation that is absent among youth who have severed bonds with their past in the pursuit of acceptance by their native peers. Right? So basically, you have African men and women who've abandoned their African heritage to be accepted by the Negroes. Right? Hey, okay, cool. This process of acculturation or identity development leads to a good, traditional, or bad Americanized dichotomy within the communities of immigrant youth. Immigrant youth who are first generation, 1.5 generation immigrant students are expected to be the bridge for the parents and second generational siblings. For instance, when describing to my younger siblings why they are in trouble with my parents for something that is fine with their American friends, with their American friends' parents, I have to also speak with my mother to explain the generational and cultural disconnect. Nikki states that when facing microaggression related to being an African woman in school, my parents did not understand. They told me to brush it off and that I would face bigger challenges. There was kind of a generational disconnect. The microaggressions were directed towards my heritage and disrespect towards the continent of Africa. I got called an African booty scratcher, a term I still don't understand. Me either. Asked if everyone in Africa has AIDS. Do I know anyone who has an AIDS baby? I was marginalized a lot. Even my accent was made fun of, as well as further actions that made me the other. The exotic African girl who was not quite black enough, but was definitely not white, and was just her own tribal, like monkey girl. My older sister had to speak to my parents about my frustrations with these challenges at school, right? So, in my own experience, explanations had to be given to me by my brother because even though I understood the cultural and gender rules associated with staying home to take care of my younger siblings while he was outside playing with his friends, does this not sound familiar? Have we not heard several YouTubers say this? Matter of fact, let me think for a minute. But anyway, in my own experience, explanations had to be given to me by my brother because even though I understood the cultural and gender rules associated with staying home to take care of my younger siblings while he was outside playing with his friends, right? I attempted to resist my parents by not doing chores or cooking. These expectations of performing domestic duties while also performing well at school were highly enforced. When not followed, I was considered an Americanized kid by my parents. Although that is such bullshit. These African born parents who came over here to the United States were successful in brainwashing their children for their own selfish purposes, basically brainwashing them against American Negroes. And we were nothing of the sort. So I don't know. I guess, if you don't do your chores, you're acting like an American woman. Bullshit. We know we had to do chores. We had to, we was cutting potatoes and snapping green beans and, doing all kind of shit, cutting the potatoes into French fries, mashing them into mashed potatoes. We was doing all that shit. So you had some immigrants coming from Africa who brainwashed their children into thinking that Negro people were bad when we're the motherfuckers that set the foundation for them to bring their asses over here and get a goddamn education. Had it not been for our fight, they wouldn't be able to come over here and get shit. So how dare you make your African children think that American children were bad or that the Negro way in America was bad? We set the tone. We set the foundation. Oh wow! Because I was like, we didn't act like that. Like damn. I remember when we were younger kids, Negro kids back in the 80s, Negro kids weren't sitting around doing nothing. We were at the gas stations washing windows. I remember my brother and my sister, they used to go to the gas station, wash windows and things like that for change and stuff. We had our summer school lunch program. We had summer school. The school was open during the summertime. You find massive amounts of kids up at the school getting lunch, free lunch in the summertime, playing, doing all types of things. They don't have that anymore. The school wasn't just open to just for all kids. Today, the school is not just open for all kids to come in and play on the playground, and then serve us free lunch, and then after that we could play a little bit more, and then when we got tired, we went home. So basically, back in the day, we were good kids. Negro kids were good kids. It wasn't until these fucking African kids came and brought that bullshit from Africa, all that wild acting and play, and you know what I'm saying, really not a whole lot of shit to do but cook and clean and run around throwing rocks and shit and destroying stuff. They brought that shit over here and then attributed it to all the black people that are here. They did not maintain the separation unless it was beneficial to them. So, like I always say, when it's good to be a black person, it's good. When it's bad to be a black person, oh, now you're African. You're from Africa. I'm not a black person. That's when they throw the accent on. You know what I'm saying? And so that's when they want to separate themselves from us. But when we're receiving services as Negroes, oh, now all of a sudden they're Negroes too. Okay, there's a bitch. Mm-hmm. Traditional youth are the ones who have preserved their culture and considered by most of their community members as the good kids, right? So the ones who kept their African heritage in place and followed it, they're the good kids. They are considered part of the 1.5 generation. This is a generation that could be found sitting with other foreign born students who they know from ESL classes or other classes that they have together. English as a second language, that's what ESL is, right? They have a dual frame of reference due to their attachment to their culture and experiences in their native country and assert that there are more educational opportunities in the US. They speak formal English and can be heard switching back and forth from English to their native language. For these students, having signs like English only or being put down for speaking their language is very upsetting since they want to be able to utilize all of their identities. They also link social mobility to education by aspiring to attend higher education after high school, as they believe that attaining an American education will lead to ascending the socioeconomic ladder of the American society. Their aspirations also come from them feeling obligated to repay their parents for the sacrifices that they have made for them by being in the United States. This sacrifice and dedication to the education of their children is very important, as they are, in some cases, the first generation to attend college. So, they come over here, you're the first ones that are going to be graduating college, this, that, and the third. According to this paper, um, people in Africa, education wasn't important, but then when they were colonized and able to go to school, the parents had to pay. So, sort of like when I did that video on Myron in his country or whatever, they got to pay to go to school. So the parents tended to send the boys to school more than the girls, right? So, for example, my own mother and father, although having better occupations and pay than most of their peers, decided to leave the land that they knew, the family that they could count on, in order for my siblings and I to gain an education that would assist us in surpassing their accomplishments in Guinea. Although I keep these sacrifices in mind and work to make myself, my parents, my family, and country of origin proud, it is important to note that, like many other immigrant children, I understood that racialized tensions as well as cultural differences that exist in the United States make it hard to meet these expectations, right? Students and their parents adjust to living in a new culture by adhering to some cultural adjustments. The education of girls and women, though they have to continue to be the carriers and protectors of their cultures. Cultural difference, though, are sometimes due to cultural expectations of some girls and women in many developing countries to cook and clean, as well as the lack of financial resources to send both boys and girls to school. Boys are more respected culturally in many countries, therefore more likely to attend school than girls. Amma, one of my narrators, states, back home, you have to work harder and have more expectations and discipline. Before going to school, you have to make sure that you wake up early, clean the house before school, and cook after you come back. They are the backbone. There would be more peace if African women ruled. While in the U.S., Legislation like No Child Left Behind requires all children, boys, men or girls, women, to be in school. Public schools and not having to pay for them is also a factor. Therefore, this new privilege that girls and women have in terms of being educated is something that many immigrant parents accept, but some still require their daughters to adhere to the cultural norms of cooking, cleaning, and so forth. Now, this is where you have these niggas talking about, even though she got a full time job, she still has to cook and clean and take care of the kids while I only work and I sit on the couch. This is an African man that's talking. This is why you find some, you find these Negro males who don't mind getting up, washing the dishes, doing some laundry, because that is how Negroes progressed. It was teamwork. We're both gonna take care of the responsibilities. When you're talking to an African man or African descendant, he wants to sit around and fucking do nothing but work a job, and then have the woman work a job. Okay, well, we're in the United States, and we can't afford what we're doing, one income, so you have to go to work. However, you still have to come home, do all the cleaning, pick up the kids from school, drop them off, and do everything while I just work a job. That's an African man talking. Ain't that a motherfucking bitch? And now we gotta suffer. We Negro women and Negro men gotta suffer because this is we're being bred out by these people. We've been bred out by these people. The mindset, the Negro mindset has been bred out by these Africans. They don't like us anyway. That's why I said these Africans, because they're not our people. They don't share the same values and ways of living that Negroes do. They haven't suffered the way we've suffered, right? They've never been enslaved. They've never been tied to a tree, beaten, and whipped. They've never had their babies cut out of them, right? They've never been hung. Their ancestors hung from a fucking tree. So Negroes, we have a teamwork make a dream work. These African people, they have brought that bullshit over here, because I'm saying to myself, and this is why I've been saying, like, what the fuck is going on? You got white men and white women. They both got their bachelor's degrees. One might go further and get the master's degrees, but they're both respected, and they respect each other for having those degrees. She works, the white man works, the white woman works. They come home, they both take care of the kids. If he's in the kitchen, he get her something to drink. If she's in the kitchen, she gets him something to drink. But then you also have the traditional white household where mom stays home and does everything. But this is why she gets to go to the gym. She gets to go get her hair done. She gets to go get her nails done. She gets to have a maid. She gets to have a nanny, because that's the way their team works to make their dream work. The white man, even though the woman is not working, he still wants to maintain her happiness, right? He makes her feel as if her roles in the home is important as well as her happiness. These African people, they oppress their women. They're oppressors. And this is why I'm saying to myself, like, what the fuck is going on? Because Negro men are not oppressors. They're all about their women going to get their hair. That's why. That's oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Okay, so wow, 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 wow. Mm-mm-mm. Let me go on, because I'm leading up to a point here. I'm leading up to a point. So this can also contribute to the school. Mm, listen to this. This can also contribute to the school to prison pipeline for Black girls, as these expectations may conflict with their schooling. The expectations of cooking and cleaning conflict with the requirements of going to school. African men feel it more important for their women to be at home cooking and cleaning than getting an education. So was Kevin Samuels an African motherfucker, or did his dumbass just take on this thought to fuck up the Negro community? Because this sounds like some Kevin Samuels bullshit. Fuck your education. We don't care about your money because you're not spending it on us. We can't spend it. We can't control it. So do you feel having a career is more important than having a family? They're both important. And Black women were saying, no, they're both important. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you, like, who in this day and age, man or woman, doesn't go get a fucking education? Who does that? Nobody. Where the fuck are you coming from left field with this bullshit? And that is because we have these African men here with that fucking African mindset, African tradition that they need to fucking take back to Africa. Because Negro people, we work as a team to get the fucking job done. And so do white people. They work as a team to get the fucking job done. So we have been saturated with this African culture and tradition and women's roles and shit. But it's not a happy role that these African women have. It's an oppressive role. You can't be happy and be a housewife. They gotta come in and do some fucking bullshit to make you unhappy. You too happy, right? When it is a total opposite with Negro men and white people. They're like, she's like, I'm tired and I don't want to do this anymore. And he's like, okay, well, you want some money to go get your nails done? Yeah, but with the African man, it's like, oh, shut up. This is your role. You don't want to do your role. This and oh my God. Okay. This can also contribute to the school to prison pipeline for Black girls, as these expectations may conflict with their schooling. Now, she doesn't say it in this paper, but it explains why there's a school to prison pipeline for Black boys. These are not our Negro sons that are experiencing this school to prison pipeline, because our Negro kids are different, right? These are these African hidden kids that are experiencing the school to prison pipeline, and I'm getting ready to read why. So we won't know the impacts that this has on African immigrant women specifically unless investigated. There needs to be research on this. Traditional students are said to adhere to cultural norms, but also at times question it as well. Students who are traditional are hybrids of the two cultures, while at times resisting the thoughts of both cultures' ideologies about marriage, childbearing, gender roles, etc. For example, Zebra explains, as a woman in the US, you are expected to be equal to men, even though in a paradoxical way they are earning more than the woman. But women have an opportunity to apply to different jobs. But then you may have to juggle motherhood and a job. So a lot of pros and cons. Back home, household rules are very gendered and occupations are very gender specific. Rape, abuse, and violence are normalized. A woman having less education than the men is normalized. Although women have been an important part of history, because when Eritrea was fighting for its independence, women were also at the front lines. A lot of kids were born in the trenches and were named freedom because of that. Everyone was recruited to bear the price of freedom. Now, doesn't this sound familiar, right? And this sounds familiar within the Black Panther Party. This sounds familiar um, in the marches, right? That, Negroes did back in the day for equal rights and to go to school. Women were on the front line. So we Negroes, before all these Africans arrived, knew how to work together, knew that it takes the man and the woman to tango, right? Men had a certain, Negro men have a certain level of respect for the woman, the Negro woman, and the Negro woman has a certain amount of respect for the Negro male, right? Africans, they're different. They don't give a shit what the woman did. She still needs to cook and clean and be stupid, right? With understanding, with this understanding of cultural expectations related to gender roles in the U.S. and back in Eritrea, Zebra has constructed her own roles and expectations. She graduated from her respective college within the past year, is completing an internship with a multi national organization, and is focusing on her aspirations in relation to Eritrean challenges or forms of oppression in the U.S. and abroad before embarking on the path of marriage and motherhood. Huh. What does that sound like? Oh, you think it sounds like Kevin saying you need to go get your education first, and then you're going to be a wife and a mother. Oh, wow. Zebra is a second generation Eritrean, but does not display the stereotypes of second generation immigrant students. Americanized second generation youth are the ones who have lost their culture. Listen to this, guys. Here it comes. And turn into bad kids. Students are trying to distance themselves from their culture so that they can assimilate into American society. They are more comfortable speaking English than their native language, listen to American music, hip hop, and etc., while disregarding their own cultural aspects. Still, they face judgment, racialization, and prejudice from both non white and white peers. As disregarding one identity does not mean fitting into the other. This can lead to internalized oppression or racism as the students do not like who they are culturally and do their best to change any identifiers that might associate them with a foreign culture. For instance, straightening one's hair so that it is not associated with being African or African American, so that it is acceptable to one's white peers. Now, who does that sound like? What does that sound like? Black women say on this YouTube, out of here in these YouTube streets all day, every day. Black men hate themselves. This is why they're trying to breed themselves out. Huh? This can lead to internalized oppression or racism as the students do not like who they are culturally. You won't find that with a Negro. The Negroes love themselves. They want to continue to um, procreate their 100% black child. It is these African men who have come here and dropped their culture because they hate themselves, and now they're trying to breed themselves out by having children with women of non-color. So that's you, motherfuckers. But since they got black skin, they are saying that this is the Negro male's mindset. And I said, no. I said, no. No. The Negro has been through too much during slavery to be treating each other the way black people are treating each other today. And that is not us. That is not the Negro that's fighting against each other. That's these African men, these descendants of these African men and women who are here hiding and pretending like they're Negroes and brought that bullshit from Africa. Wow. Terrible. Terrible. So, for instance, straightening one's hair so that it is not associated with being African or African American so that it is acceptable to one's white peers. Another example would be talking negatively about those in your cultural group to non African or foreign peers in order to disassociate from them. Wow. So these are not the unapologetically black people. These are not the 1970s, 1980s, I'm black and I'm proud people. These are descendants of African immigrants that are here in the United States who hate themselves, who hate being black. Right? What is that song? It says, I don't know, I think it was a Tupac song. What makes you ashamed of being black? The Negro is not ashamed of being black. It's these Africans that are ashamed of being black. And because why? Americanized students may express high expectations about their own education, but the need to assimilate into society may counter this expression because they spend more time trying to fit in, change of clothing, extracurricular activities, and so on. Significantly, second generation youth appear to have more difficulty, listen, significantly, second generation youth appear to have more difficulty acquiring academic English than their 1.5 peers. While traditionally students can rely on their native language skills to learn English, most Americanized students possess relatively weak native language skills. Speaking a different language and using that to assist one in learning English can be helpful for many Americanized students. They try to hide the fact that they may know another language. To assist these Americanized second generation students in achieving in schools, Lee states that this calls for culturally relevant uh, pedagogy and teachers who care. Americanized youth cannot relate to the curriculum that is being taught to them by teachers. This is why these black children, these that we don't know or that have hidden the fact that they are African descendants, are not learning in school. It has nothing to do with the teachers. It has nothing to do with, the cops. Everybody likes to blame everything on the police. It has nothing to do with the white people. It is simply saying that these Africans who have Americanized themselves, they cannot relate to the curriculum that is being taught to them. So what happens? Oh, now we're saying, oh, black kids are miseducated. These are not black kids. These are not Negro kids. These are African kids. Negroes, we assimilate fine because this is where we originated. This is where we come from. Why would we have a problem assimilating with curriculum, except for the fact of moving around, not being able to consistently be in school, moving from school to school. The parents or the moms having their trials and tribulations. But it doesn't matter what's going on with this African Americanized child. He is not able to relate to the curriculum. This is why we have these so-called black men. They're not Negroes. These African black men that can't read, that can't write, that are of low education. Wow, that's deep. That's deep right there. And there is your school to prison pipeline for Black kids. It has nothing to do with Negro kids. This is all these African kids that have hidden themselves. They cannot relate to the curriculum, and it's probably attributed to what's going on at home. Their mom, they're still speaking their native tongue. The other kids that like the native tongue are speaking it. So these are the ones that are successful and that are going to college. The ones that can't relate to the curriculum, these are knuckleheads out here doing dumb shit and not valuing education. Wow. Wow. They are unaware of their own cultures and history, forcing them to Americanize or assimilate into the groups that they learn about in school. Many Americanized students fail to see how academic subjects will help them get work. Wow. What does that sound like? Oh my God. What does that sound like? I don't need no education. How's education going to help me? That's an African you talking to. That's an African descendant. That's a second generation African man you talking to. Oh, wow. You don't need education to get a job. You don't need a college education. You don't need. Oh, wow. Wow. The motivation to achieve in school is not the same for traditional and Americanized students, which impacts their academic achievements. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Wow. The, these students experience intergenerational conflicts at home as their parents may only speak the native language while the students are more fluent in English. Americanized youth understandings of what it meant to be an immigrant in the United States are informed by their relationships with with their parents and their marginalized positions in school and the larger society. There is segregation, division between the two groups because traditional youth who preserve their culture are seen negatively by their Americanized peers and vice versa. An example of this would be students who are taking ESL classes and are seen as the other by their American peers and Americanized peers. Both groups are negotiating some parts of their identity in response to their experiences at home, school, and larger society. Each group defines what it means to be American in the United States as an immigrant student or a student with immigrant parents. Immigrant parents want their students to achieve in school while also preserving their culture. This is one of the foundations of the divide between traditional and Americanized students. Due to this, immigrant students construct identities against each other. Wow. Wow. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, so I was going to stop, but damn, I just saw something else. There are dominant definitions of masculinity and femininity in the American culture and that of the students' cultures. In the United States, there are intersectionalities of gender, class, nationality, and race. Correspondingly, the very definition of a woman has been tied to whiteness. While white middle class women were seen as being pure, women of color were characterized as immoral. Thus, the identity of white middle class women was constructed in opposition to the identities of women of color, as the ideal woman is white. Middle class, able bodied, Christian, and heterosexual in U.S. society. To continue controlling images of black women being mammies, matriarchs, welfare queen, and Jezebel are also associated with black African So they even though they come here and they're Africans, they're still given the stigma of being a mammy, a matriarch, a welfare queen, and a Jezebel. Therefore, portrayed as fat, asexual domestic workers, a woman who challenges patriarchal power and is not submissive, and a woman who is dependent on the government support for her kids, and or a sexual or erotic being. These controlling images of African American women, due to the racialized history of the U.S., are also associated with African women, which led to intersectional oppressions of gender by U.S. society and their own cultures. Wow. So, I mean, wow, that is crazy. So, I mean, like I said, I was wondering, like, what the fuck happened? Like, what the hell happened between black men and black women? Nothing, because black Negroes are not dominating the black community anymore. Africans are. We call them hidden Africans. They're the ones that are dominating and controlling the narrative of the black man and the black woman. Because we didn't act like this back in the 80s and 90s. And I was wondering, like, where did the shift come? Where did the change come? Black men always um, congratulated and appreciated an educated black woman. Just like we always appreciated and praised the educated black men. But now, we don't give a fuck about your education. We don't care about your money. Like, damn. No, y'all. Um, where the Negroes at? We want them back. They understand teamwork makes the dream work. These Africans brought that bullshit from Africa, that fit, feminine, and submissive role. Wow. That you don't need an education. The man is the one that needs the education. He don't have to be beautiful, because the men in Africa are not beautiful. I hate to say it, but we're gonna keep it 100. Wow. So I was watching one of Kevin Samuels' old videos. He was talking to this black guy, and when he first brought him on, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "The black woman is my enemy." And Kevin Samuels was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 wait a minute! Like, what do you mean?" And I'm saying to myself, how is the black woman your enemy? But now, after finding this paper and really getting some clarity on who the fuck we are actually really dealing with, now I understand what the young man meant. Now I understand where the disconnect comes in at. There's no disconnect in the Negroes. The disconnect that is happening today is among African people. They have brought that bullshit over here from Africa, and these are the black men and the black women that are fighting against each other. Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. I told y'all, just because their skin is black doesn't mean they're black. Right? Mm-mm. Wow. Mm. The black man has never had this much hatred for a black woman. And I'm saying, I'm still asking myself, where's the disconnect? Found it. Found it. So when we're fighting, when we're fighting the Negro woman, is fighting and saying, "What the fuck is wrong with y'all? What are you talking about? What do you mean she shouldn't get an education? What do you mean she shouldn't work? What the fuck are you talking about? This is the foundation of the Negro education. So what the fuck is education for both men and women? We weren't picking in and doing all this bullshit so the men could go to work. I mean, to school. We were doing that so both of us can go to school. So how do we all of a sudden come from, oh, if she has a high school diploma, that's okay. Because you're required to do education as a kid, right? That education is required. The parents will get in trouble if the child is not in school, even though you can drop out at 16, right? It's fine. But no, they have to get an education. If it was up to them, they wouldn't go to school at all. Wow, this is terrible. But I'm glad I figured it out. So anyway, if y'all want to read that paper for yourselves and you want to know where uh, the change occurred, here it is. Here it is. You want to know why we got a lot of black men in prison? Because they're not Negroes. They're Africans. You want to know why a lot of them can't read and write and spell? Because they're not Negroes. They're Africans. Negroes value education and they get it. And I'm not saying this is all Africans, but I'm just saying that is a problem because you have a lot of these African immigrants migrated to Los Angeles, Inglewood, and Compton. And those are some of our most destructive streets in the United States. We're on the West Coast. So we're saying to ourselves, wow, how did we go from being educated, appreciating school, loving those school lunches, showing up and graduating to not, because it's not the Negroes, it's the Africans. It's not the Negroes, it's the Africans. The number of African immigrants in the United States grew from 881,300 in 2000 to 1.6 million in 2010. These black women that are out in the street shaking their ass, doing what the hell it is they want to do, not taking care of their kids, got their kids running the street. Those are not Negro women. Those are African descendants, right? Straight from the motherland. Their parents came straight from the motherland. That is not the Negro woman. The Negro woman carries herself differently. She dresses differently, right? You gotta kind of wonder, like, damn, why these bitches always half naked? Why they always have? Why is there no shame in how much skin they're showing? Because they're not Negro women. Those are African women. They're used to being scantily dressed, titties out. Where's my damn? It's not Negro women. Those are African women. We've been hoodwinked. We've been bamboozled. Ah! Oh my God. Mm-mm-mm. Wow. Mm-mm. That's terrible. Anyway, I'm gonna get on up out of here. Like I said, y'all want to read the paper. Y'all want to figure out what the hell is going on. It's not the Negroes. It's not the Negroes. It is not the Negro men and Negro women because we have come too far and fought too much. And this is why we feel like what the hell happened to all our progress? Our progress has been thwarted by the rise in African immigrants who are having a difficult time with the education system, which is causing them to now go out into the streets to get it how they get it. This is where we have all the killing. Oh my God. Wow. It's not Negro men killing each other. These are African men killing each other. These are African boys that are killing each other. Wow. Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. 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 Let me go because the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, God damn. It's not Negro, it's not us, it's Africans. Bye, y'all. Damn.